my name is Leanne and welcome to my channel. I'm going to start off by redoing these two sconces. Although they're really pretty the way they are, I decided I wanted to lighten them up a bit and give them some gold detail. I'm probably breaking some sort of painter's cardinal rule by putting the paint directly on the piece, but for me it just worked out easier. I felt that these needed a little bit of a sparkle, so I decided to try out using gold leaf for the first time. So I watched other videos that I saw people putting the Mod Podge on the entire item before they put the gold leaf on, and I thought that was a great idea until I actually did it. And the day was pretty warm that day, and all the Mod Podge dried before I got a chance to get the gold leaf on, so I eventually just decided to put the gold leaf on in patches. So I would put Mod Podge and then gold leaf and then move to the next section just like I am here, and then that way it stuck better. I'm so happy that I was going for a messy look for this because that is how it turned out. So now that I made a big mess with my gold leaf, it's time to clean it up with this makeup brush. But I also make another mess right here when I think it's a great idea to wax everything. But when I'm doing that, some of the gold leaf actually gets stuck on the brush, and then see me putting it back into the tin, all the gold leafs now in my clear wax. So that didn't turn out great, but in the end, I think they both turned out really pretty. Let's see if I do any better with gold leaf in project number 2. So I start off with these two picture frames. I really actually like the embroidered pictures that somebody had put in the middle of them. However, for this project, I'm just focusing on redoing the frames. So this is the first time I used this coral color paint. It's really, really pretty in person. It's very accurate to how you're seeing it on your screen right now. However, throughout this video, it is hard to videotape because depending on the lighting, it does tend to look more orange sometimes, but it is actually more like what you're seeing right now. For this project, I'm using larger pieces of gold leaf. I have to say that's easier to work with, for me at least, compared to the little pieces that I was using on the first project. So this, to me, worked out a lot better. So clearly I have learned from my past mistake. I've decided to stick with putting the Mod Podge down right before I apply the gold leaf, and it did work out better. I decided to get a little more crafty with my own thinking and decided to keep the vacuum cleaner handy so it could suck up any of the gold leaf pieces that were flaking away. And yes, just because I already had speckles in the wax, I decided why not add more with this project. So now I have a nice glittery tin of wax. And this is how they turned out. So now that I'm getting the hang of using gold leaf, this is the third project. I only do a little bit of gold leaf on the top, but I hope you like it. So this is an interesting table. Every piece of this table actually comes apart. So it must have been a table that originally was bought as a kit table. So I took advantage of that. when I was working with it. It's just easier sometimes to paint items when they're not attached. So this one I completely took apart. And I don't know if you can notice those little hearts that one of my daughters drew on there. I had already sanded this piece, so that's some of the dust from the sand. And they left me a little message. I thought it was so cute. So now it's time to crush our souls and wash the heart away. I actually felt really bad doing that, but it had to be done. Found it easier to sand these pieces by just holding the sandpaper and wrapping it around the spindle and actually just turning the spindle, not actually moving the sandpaper, and it just went a lot quicker that way. I purposely left the screwdriver on the table so I would remember which ones I sanded and which ones I didn't. However, the first one, of course, I forgot to put on the other side of the screwdriver, but eventually they all made it to the other side. If you watched any of my other videos, you may notice that I use raw silk often. This paint is made by Fusion. I use it so often that I actually buy the larger container of it. This white is more of a warm tone white. I'm assuming it's probably being tinted with yellow over a gray. I'm not the biggest fan of gray whites, so I gravitate more to the yellow tone white, and I find that this one's just the perfect color. Some of you might not know this, but I do sell the pieces that I make, and when I paint something in this color, they sell really quickly. On a side note, this is not an endorsement video for Fusion paint. I just really like the color. So right here, you'll see that I'm distressing the pieces with just a little chunk of wood that I have. I'm also using the wet distress method, where you just use a wet cloth and remove any paint you don't want. Sometimes I overdo it. In this case right here, I'm not too pleased with how much I took away. So I'm just adding a little bit more paint and then re-distressing it with the cloth to the way I want it to look. I chose not to use sandpaper because I was nervous that I was going to scratch that nice rich dark brown that's underneath. So this is why I chose to use the method I'm using. All right, so now we're back to gold leafing. So on this one, I pre-cut some gold leaf that would fit on easily. And I'm using the backing of the paper that the gold leaf comes on, and just kind of pressing it down on these little pieces of wood, and I found that that worked out really well. These are all done. I think they turned out pretty good. I did do a little bit of distressing on them to match the entire piece. However, I did get very clever and did a clear coat of spray on those ones. And for the rest of the white pieces, I did the clear wax. Rounded brushes like this are the best to apply the wax with. After the wax completely dried, I buffed each piece with my kids' old washcloths. Don't worry, I washed them, they are clean. And then I put the entire table back together. And this is it done. I actually really like how it turned out. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.